Hi, I come today with a tag. The Hindsight is 2020 reader tag. This was created at Aaron Go Read, and it's a tag that's the kind of series of questions to aim to get to know each other better as readers. And I was tagged by Kelly over at Books I'm Not Reading. Hey Kelly, here you can hear all about what kind of reader I am. So the prompts are, number one, what were you like as an early and learning reader? So as an early reader, there's, some people who've done this tag who said like, oh, I only kind of came to reading sort of later in life, that it was only then that I kind of, really got into reading. For me, I don't really remember a time when I wasn't reading, that it wasn't always a part of my life. It feels like I've just been somebody with a book for my entire life. So as an early reader, I think like a lot of kids, I sucked up books as I went along, as many as I could, as quickly as I could, for as much time as I could, really jamming it into my time. I mean, I'm the classic one of those kids that, the parents are like, get outside, go outside and do something other than than all the reading that you're doing. Like, get out. And grew up in such a time where, then you would wander the landscape and get into all sorts of scrapes, but no parental supervision. So that was sort of how I was as an early reader. So the second part of this is and learning reader, which I don't actually see as a I feel like as a reader I have always been learning as I've gone along. I've developed, I've changed as a reader as I've gone along in life. I feel like even before I actually went to school and they started, having books and texts that you had to read in classrooms and you had to discuss the discussion points and stuff like that. I was already reading even then, and that was, a lot of books that my mother was English and my father was Scottish, so a lot of like Rupert the Bear and picture books and a lot of Paddington Bear and the Bobbsey twins and Naughty, all that sort of stuff I was imbibing. And then in school, I have to say that, like, the reading that was done in school felt a little bit like the oatmeal, because this was stuff that you had to read, and you had to have points. You had to kind of have points, and you'd get drilled on those points. Teachers would be demanding questions to prove that you had read something, and I didn't pay attention to that very much. And in fact, a lot of my reading during school probably took away from my schooling, especially in kind of later 13, 14, 15 years in school. I spent a lot of time reading late into the night. So I was one of these kids who was at school falling asleep all the time, and really probably a terrible student, because I was spending all my nights reading fantasy Conan and Piers Anthony and J.R.R. Tolkien and stuff like that. And just, sucking it up again. There wasn't that much of that considered reader. And then later in life, as I kind of, I was, as going into college and then university, it became, wow, this was a place where you could sit and you could discuss books. And it felt a lot less like, I was in a room where everyone was like, oh, we had to read this book. No, I was in rooms like English classes where people were like, wow, we get to read, like a lot more fellow readers. And I really got into that and probably spoke a little bit too much in class. I was probably one of those students, as you can probably tell from my channel. And I really enjoyed that. And then, I got out of that, and then got to Booktube, where, I'm back to talking too much about books, but, there's definitely shifts in what kind of reader I was as it goes along. So, and I expect there will be more shifts of like what kind of a reader I am as I change and develop and go through whatever life changes and experiences that I have. How I am as a reader which is so enmeshed in being alive, being a person for myself, it'll be that'll change too. So it's always changing, always shifting. Number 2, what book or book series really got you excited about reading as a kid? Here's the one that I can kind of quickly skip over. I can name series that I really enjoyed as a kid. Tolkien, Narnia, Harriet the Spy, the Great Brain series, stuff like that. But it's not really about any of those series. It was about I was already, some part of my brain was already really into reading already at that point. So I can't point to an exact series. It was just the act of reading itself that was always there, always exciting me as a reader, always drawing me in. Number 3, has there been a person in your life, real or fictional, who inspired you to be a reader? I mean, I think a lot of people who've just always been readers, a part of that is just my parents. My parents were readers. There was a time of day when it was just like there's 3 of us and just the kind of the chaos. It's like, no, everybody goes and sits down and reads. And I'm sure a part of that for my parents was we'd like a little freaking bit of peace of quiet ourselves. But so, yeah, there was always that habit there. And I probably, much as there's other things in that family experience that, I struggle with. That was probably what set my path as a reader and stuff and like that. So that's probably my very kind of straightforward answer to that. Number 4, what point did you begin to identify as a reader? I think my question number 1 is super long because in some ways it kind of it expands out and it kind of encompasses a lot of these questions. I never thought of myself as not a reader. No, it's interesting to like identify as a reader because I don't know how many people around me in my life, even in my life now, people I work with or stuff like that, would say, oh, Jay, he's a reader. There's definitely that thing of something from a J.D. Salinger quote of him, God, I really enjoyed, I wish it was back when we were all like kind of private readers. And there is a part of me that is like, I think I am, this is probably parts of just my personality in other ways, is that I've always been like a private reader, someone who read a lot. And yes, my family would know, but I don't know if like outside of that kind of that inner circle, people would identify me as a reader. And in the theme of shifting, it's only been with sort of something like Booktube that I would say this is my public side of being a public reader, is out there, which is probably why I'm disinclined to actually share the existence of this channel with very many people in my meat existence. It's like it still feels like, okay, this is a private thing that I'm doing with strangers on the internet, but I'm not sharing this with people at work that, nobody at work knows that I have a Booktube channel. That would just, and there's a part of that is I'm a private reader, and I choose to share with on this channel, but I don't know if I'm gonna share it with people outside of Ja, who I have to say is probably super thrilled that I found an outlet for a place to yak about the books I'm reading that isn't me telling her the entire plot of a book while we're, sitting in bed and she's trying to read her book or do whatever she's doing. And so, yeah. I don't know if publicly have I identified as a reader? I don't know. Privately, it's just always been there, but publicly, I mean, this is as close as it gets. Yeah. Number 5, how has being a reader shaped your life and your worldview? That's a slippery question again, going back to question number 1. However, I would say, how has being a reader shaped my life? I got a BA in English, basically because I love talking about books. Probably that's why I had to learn how to actually write an essay and learn grammar so I could better talk about books with the people in classes and, pass those things and go onwards. I mean, that hit a limit to it, in that I found that like just the academic act of talking about books after a while was like not so much my thing. And so after I got a BA in English, I could have gone on, but it was just like, no, I don't want to. I would say that probably my choice to go into stuff like I'm a support worker, on my feet, physically kind of doing stuff every day, is actually influenced by being such a reader. Is that I did have at the beginning of my working career jobs that were like working in offices and stuff like that. But it's like, okay, I was going to sit down in an office and work and type and kind of read stuff at work. And I know some people can balance that, and some people probably have a better capacity for that. But it was like, this is going to break my body. There's physical things of just like sitting at a desk all day and then going home and sitting down and reading wasn't going to be a great fit with me. And it wasn't like, well, I'm not going to give up being a reader. That's sort of who I am. So I decided that I would go into kind of more physical stuff, and I'm not a construction dude. Though I guess that would have been probably more profitable. So I became I eventually kind of wound round to a support worker after a couple of other not so great choices in life. So yeah, that is how reading directly shaped my life. As for worldview, it's so hard to say because, I guess I could look at other people who don't read and try and compare myself to them, but that seems like a false dichotomy. And there's some people who don't read who are freaking intelligent, insightful people, who have plenty of human empathy, plenty of stuff that, like, I really respect. And I don't want to particularly say, oh, well, I'm a reader. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it there on that question. Number 6, tag someone whose reading history you want to learn more about. And that would be all of you. I'm not, and a part of this, I mean, it's great if you do this tag, but a part of the whole thing about Booktube is that I think every time we turn on the camera and talk to each other, every time I hear comments from people who just watch the videos and don't make videos, is you get to learn about what their reading history is, and like in every question and every comment they make, or in every video or stuff like that. This is all just sort of that. That said, thank you very much, Aaron. I really, really enjoyed your questions here, and thank you, Kelly, for your interest. If it was interesting at all, and it wasn't just me nattering. Well, it's always me nattering on for a while. But yeah. Yeah, it was good questions to kind of just sort of reflect back on who I am, who I am as a reader, but just really who I am. So yeah. If you want to do this tag, I'd be fascinated to hear. All right, more videos later.